Connie Healy and John Kalia. This is the noon edition of News 8.
Lots of damage, several injuries, some may be fatal. Good afternoon. At 12 o'clock, the pileup on Interstate 215 happened unexpectedly. Thick fog dropped like a curtain on the freeway this morning. It was between Rancho, California and Sun City. A chain reaction accident happened, the kind that leaves drivers so helpless. About 30 cars and several semi-truck trailers smashed and bounced off each other. Some drivers had slowed down when the fog rolled across the highway, but others either failed to use caution or never saw it in time. Both sides of Interstate 215 were closed. A gravel truck that ran into the accident scene caused the most damage, nearly crushing a small car. The driver was taken away in very serious conditions. We were among the first on the scene.
The car started. I couldn't get my car door open. Finally, two gentlemen came in and finally got it open after, I got hit by the semi. But it was the scariest feeling I've ever had.
What were you hearing? Were you hearing just a series of chain collisions?
Basically, yeah. It was just, I just got hit, and then you got hit again, and you heard brakes everywhere.
It was more than 3 hours before the freeway was reopened. We'll have a more detailed report at 4:30, 5, and 6:30.
One man is missing and 25 others hurt after a Marine Corps helicopter crashed onto the deck of a ship. The helicopter had just taken off from the amphibious assault ship Pileup off the coast of San Diego last night. The pilot apparently had engine trouble and tried to return to the ship. Instead of landing, it hit the deck, knocking men into the water. Rescuers searched all night for the missing man and hope daylight will help the search today. They say none of the injured was seriously hurt. Rescuers in Boise have called off their search for two San Diego men. Grady Gaylord and his son Larry were flying their small plane to Wyoming last week when they disappeared. Dozens of people in dozens of planes have searched almost 30,000 miles in the area where the two are believed to have gone down. The search has turned up nothing. It will be resumed if there are any new leads. Sunbathers at Ocean Beach had to rescue a pilot who crashed his plane into the surf. 44-year-old Terry Natchkey of Chula Vista was flying an advertising banner from the back of his small plane when apparently his plane caught fire.
When he came over the pier, then he just kind of glided in about 20 feet over the surfers' heads, made a nice landing, climbed out, and the three of us got there, pulled him in.
Brian and three other men pulled the pilot to shore. He suffered only minor injuries.
That American Airlines pilot who died of an apparent heart attack during a landing was scheduled for a medical checkup this month. The flight from Chicago was on final approach to Newark Airport on Saturday when pilot Donald Ely slumped over at the controls. The co-pilot landed the plane. The 83 passengers on board never knew there was a problem. Ely had no history of heart problems. He was 51 years old. You may have heard that the back seats on the airliner are the safest in the event of a crash. Statistics from last week's Continental crash in Denver back that up. A study of passenger seating on that flight shows that all 20 people seated in the last 4 rows of the plane survived the crash, in which 28 others died.
Police have surrounded a federal prison in Atlanta, the latest to be taken over by Cubans being held there for deportation. This is the third detention center riot. Some 1,500 prisoners are being held at the Atlanta building that's been set on fire. So far, there's no word if the rioting prisoners have taken hostages. At least 30 people have been injured in the violence. In Louisiana, a hostage standoff between rioting Cuban prisoners and police continue. The standoff now in its second day. More than 20 people are being held hostage there, but negotiations that had broken off last night are back on. Bruce Hall has an update.
It has been a quiet night as the standoff continues at the Federal Detention Center in Louisiana. Negotiations are still going on, but the Cuban prisoners remain firmly in control of the facility and the more than 20 hostages.
It seems quiet out there. I think it's just kind of a wait and see and hopefully get the hostages out.
The families of the hostages spent the night in a nearby Catholic church. They receive periodic updates, but have been given very little information.
Oh, it's terrible. We just come in from Florida night before last for the holidays, and I haven't even seen him.
Authorities say they do not believe any of the hostages have been injured, but the 2-year-old detention center has been virtually destroyed. Shortly after learning they might be returned to Cuba, the inmates began setting fires, demanding they be able to talk to officials in Washington. A Catholic priest who has worked with the Cubans said it was a case of mounting despair.
They have been detained indefinitely, and that's the issue that led them to a lot of despair, frustration, hopelessness.
But this morning, officials are still confident they will be able to bring this uprising to an end through continued negotiations. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Oakdale, Louisiana.
Border Patrol agents in Laredo, Texas are searching the countryside looking for 6 Cuban prisoners who escaped over the weekend. Like the riots, the escape was triggered by fears the Cuban prisoners would be sent back to their homeland. In all, 17 prisoners escaped Sunday. All but 6 are now back behind bars. A hostage drama at a Santa Barbara County prison is now over. For more than 13 hours, a prisoner held a hospital worker at knife point. He was threatening to kill the hospital employee. The prisoner is serving a life sentence for kidnap and auto theft. Finally, the prisoner surrendered after his demands for Valium were met. He's now back in his cell. Connie?
When we come back, John, good news for the family of a missing Alzheimer's patient.
And new clues in the search for Nazi war criminals, plus this later on.
Calamari Lambrusca. Great job. It's the red Ferrari.
Look, that cashmere sport coat looks just like yours.
Yeah, it does. But actually, mine's from Neiman Marcus.
But didn't you pay a couple $100 more at Neiman Marcus?
Oh, yeah, but, actually, you get what you... Where'd she go? Guess not by here.
C&R Clothiers, that's all it costs.
The holidays, a time for friends, family, and good food.
And Big Bear can help you put it together.
Can't beat a fresh Norbest Tom turkey for tenderness and flavor. Grade A self-basting, 48 cents a pound.
Or how about a fresh, never-frozen California-grown Foster Farms turkey? Big Bear Thanksgiving special.
Pepsi, $1.49 a six-pack. Plus, buy 3 six-packs and get a 2-liter bottle of Slice free.
And Tostitos will liven up the group, just 89 cents.
Makes this holiday really special.
Get a fresh turkey from Big Bear.
And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
I'm Greg Hurst. If running away has you walking on the dark side of life, call Home Run at 1-800-HIT-HOME.
A happy ending today to a search for a missing man in the North County. 73-year-old William Reka suffers from Alzheimer's disease. Yesterday morning, he wandered away from his Escondido home. Police searched for him all day with no luck. About 4 o'clock this morning, Reka was found several miles south of his home after he accidentally tripped a burglar alarm at a business. Police say Reka is fine and he is back home now.
The news isn't as good for a whale trainer at SeaWorld. 26-year-old John Sillick remains hospitalized in serious condition after an accident during the killer whale show Saturday. Sillick was in the pool with 2 whales when one of the animals jumped in the air and landed on him. He suffered broken bones and internal injuries. He has undergone 2 operations, and he's still in the trauma unit at a local hospital. An alleged bank robber is behind... Here we are. Hello there. Let's try it again. An alleged bank robber is behind bars in San Diego today. 27-year-old Lawrence Ream, who used to live in Encinitas, was arrested at a Mission Bay motel yesterday. He's being charged with 12 bank robberies throughout San Diego County. He's also a suspect in several more holdups. The latest occurred last Friday at the La Jolla Bank and Trust on Claremont Mesa Boulevard. Connie.
A man accused of killing hundreds of Jews during World War II is being held in Argentina until he can be extradited to West Germany. Joseph Swanberger may have been one of the most brutal labor camp commandants. Camp survivors describe how their friends were shot in the back and thrown into a fire. Files being kept for the United Nations are being opened, and we're learning more stories of Nazis at large. Douglas Edwards with the story.
The UN's basement archives are a virtual library of death, recounting the cold facts of human misery. But the emotions dredged up by these files are very much alive. And the stories they tell are vivid, even decades after the war.
More than anything else, he best thought of himself as an expert torturer. He loved to see blood.
Nazi hunter Marvin Heyer is describing the most notorious Nazi still at large, Alois Brunner.
He loved whipping his victims, shooting them, throwing children at rocks.
As Adolf Eichmann's right-hand man, Brunner was in charge of shipping Jews in conquered countries off to concentration camps to face death, torture, and starvation.
He is responsible for the deportation for more than 100,000 Jews from various countries.
In 1954, France sentenced Brunner to death, but he'd already escaped Europe. Now, Brunner is said to be living in Syria under government protection, and in a telephone interview this month, he told the Chicago Sun-Times that the Jews were, quote, human garbage. I have no regrets and would do it again. Earlier this month, these Jews protested in front of the Syrian mission to the United Nations, demanding that Syria allow Alois Brunner to face justice.
I was personally deported by Brunner from Vienna to Riga, Latvia, to the Riga ghetto. There are over 40,000 Viennese Jews died.
Brunner is the Simon Wiesenthal Center's most wanted war criminal. But in the UN's basement files, he is far from alone. He is one among thousands whose stories have yet to be fully told.
The United Nations will let member nations decide which of their citizens will have access to the individual files.
The uphill climb for women in politics ahead.
In millions of homes, millions of people aren't just brushing. They're using Listerine because it reduces plaque by up to 50% over brushing alone to fight plaque and bad breath. For better oral hygiene, millions use Listerine.
The Coles family invites you to huge savings on Berber and plush carpets made of pure wool pile, the standard of carpet excellence. The latest pure wool carpet fashions from Europe can now be yours at savings of up to 50%. Wool Berbers are just $19.95 a square yard installed with pad. The Wool Mark assures you of carpet with wool's superior durability and ease of maintenance. Whether you're redecorating or have a new home allowance, save on wool upgrades at Kohl's in San Diego and in San Marcos.
Hi, I'm Jerry Navarre of Jerome's Furniture Warehouse. I'd like you to join me on KFMB TV for opening night when Jim Henson's Muppet Babies perform live at the Sports Arena. See Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, and all your favorites and mine. Stop by any of Jerome's 4 San Diego locations for half-price coupons to KFMB TV and Jerome's Furniture Warehouse Family Night at Muppet Babies. Magic Box, Thursday, December 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Wait till you tell the kids.
For the first time, U.S. Navy bombers are staging mock attacks on a Soviet city and naval center near the Alaskan border. The Navy says armed U.S. aircraft fly within 90 miles of a Soviet Pacific seaport, then pull away. They say they've been doing it since last year in retaliation for increased Soviet flights over international waters near Alaska. No word yet on whether Secretary of State George Shultz and his Soviet counterpart are making progress on their talks in Washington. Their conversation this morning lasted 45 minutes longer than scheduled, but when they broke for lunch, neither Shultz nor Soviet Foreign Minister Eduard Shevardnadze would talk to reporters. They're trying to resolve their differences on the missile treaty so it can be signed at next month's Superpowers Summit.
The music at Kennedy Center in Washington last night resonated with the sounds of freedom. President and Mrs. Reagan were in the audience for the performance of Vladimir Feltzman, who spent 8 years trying to get out of the Soviet Union. He finally got out earlier this year. The Reagans joined the rest of the audience in a standing ovation for Feltzman. Women account for less than 5% of the U.S. Congress, but they are working to change that. Congresswoman Pat Schroeder told a group of about 900 female political leaders even the presidency is possible for a woman in the future. News 8's Lorraine Kimmel spoke with Schroeder at the conference in Coronado.
What about the possibility of drafting you as our vice presidential candidate? Is that a thought?
The object of the question, Congresswoman Pat Schroeder, who recently said she will not seek the Democratic presidential nomination, apparently because she couldn't raise enough money or support. Still, her message to these politically active women was to not give up.
They're not going to ask you to run for office. You've got to go out there and you've got to keep hammering, and we're going to finally break through.
Geraldine Ferraro proved a woman can be considered seriously for a major office. Still, according to Schroeder, the biggest office of them all remains closed to women.
People are a little uncomfortable. They look at you and they say, well, you're wonderful, but you don't look like a president.
You say that's right. There are no presidents that look like me, but is that relevant? And we have to work that all through and keep educating.
At the same time as Schroeder was speaking, one of the leading Democratic presidential hopefuls was working a crowd of supporters. But what will it take for a woman to be in Michael Dukakis's position, to be looked at as a serious presidential contender?
People seeing more and more women, such as the wonderful women that are here in elected office. The more women that get elected to office, the more comfortable people get with women in office.
And to that question that was posed earlier on, will Pat Schroeder consider being running mate for whoever the Democrats choose? That all depends, she says, on who's doing the asking. Lorraine Kimmel, News 8, Coronado.
Max Headroom back on the airwaves, this time illegally. The story when we come back.
Are you lying to your dog?
Doesn't this look delicious?
Lies, lies, we can't believe a word you say.
And the lies. Feed your dog new Grand Gourmet dinner for dogs. Grand Gourmet is loaded with delicious beefy strips, smothered in a rich, savory sauce. Dog food that tastes this good never looked this good. New Grand Gourmet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Monday on PM Magazine.
Who's back?
Go behind the scenes as Michael Jackson kicks off the concert tour of the year.
Who's back?
And find out why so many women are turning to Alaska to find a husband. Then on San Diego at Large, starring Larry Himmel, the bad copy reporters are on a hot story.
Reports of ice show violence are coming with alarming frequency.
Watch for their exclusive report.
There's a lot of tension on the ice. There's a lot of pressure to perform.
Followed by the hit comedy Frank's Place. Monday on Channel 8.
Enter the world of big stars and big trouble and cowboys on the comeback trail on the next Entertainment Tonight. First, Burt Reynolds goes to work for Liza Minnelli in a special preview of their new film, Rent-A-Cop.
Then, how do Hollywood's biggest stars manage to stay on top year after year? Find out as they share their secrets in a special report.
Plus, we'll round up the best of the B-movie westerns and see which stars will ride again on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Tonight at 11:30 on Channel 8.
Hi, I'm Jerry G. Bishop, and she's excited.
Yes, I am. I'm Kathy Diamond, and two of the reasons are Tom Selleck and Ted Danson. They'll talk about fatherhood and 3 Men and a Baby Tuesday on Sun Up San Diego.
Also, we'll meet the world's fastest talker, John Machida, who will tell us all about the 10-minute university, and we'll have a guest from the San Diego Zoo. It's kind of hard to slow down.
But you're doing a good job. Tuesday at 8 on Sun Up.
Thousands of Roman Catholics and Protestants gathered in Northern Ireland to remember those who had died in the wars and those who were killed just a few weeks ago. Christopher Moore reports.
With the horror of the IRA's bomb outrage still fresh in their minds, tens of thousands of people attended poignant Remembrance Day ceremonies in Enniskillen, so cruelly halted 2 weeks ago. Around the town's cenotaph, they gathered to honor the war dead and to pay tribute to the victims of the terrorist attack. Ordinary people from both sides of Northern Ireland's sectarian divide, old soldiers, grieving relatives and politicians, united in compassion and reconciliation, among them the Prime Minister, Mrs. Thatcher, unexpectedly making the journey to Enniskillen amid the tightest of security. The site of the bomb explosion was screened off from the crowds as the Queen's representative, the Lord Lieutenant of County Fermanagh, the Earl of Erne, laid the first of many wreaths. It was, as near as could be, to the simple ceremony planned for 2 weeks ago, but this time with the eyes of the world on Enniskillen. Afterwards, led by 250 Royal British Legion standards from all over the United Kingdom, they marched in silent procession through the town's narrow streets to the Cathedral of St. Macartin for a service of remembrance.
In Sydney, Australia, crews are trying to restore television service to thousands of homes. Somebody took an axe to the underground telecommunications system. Television officials say the whole system was almost destroyed. Cables were cut, leaving thousands of homes without television. A video pirate is trying to make room for Max Headroom. Max Headroom has been canceled from network television, but last night he made a surprise appearance on 2 Chicago TV stations. The stations say their transmitters were overridden, and skits with a Max Headroom puppet interrupted regular programming.
Our closing story should touch your heart after a weather forecast that will warm it. A sunny, beautiful day is in store. We'll be right back.
I'm Saul Fessman, president of Queen City Home Healthcare. I'd like to tell you about a medical product that is very effective and may be at no cost to you. This is the seat lift chair that is also a recliner. It is being used by thousands of people who suffer from severe arthritis as a form of treatment in their homes. Best of all, if you qualify, you could receive this chair at no cost. Here's how. You must have a qualifying condition such as severe arthritis or other diseases which makes the chair a medically necessary treatment. You must be enrolled in Medicare Part B and have a Medicare co-insurance policy which covers the Medicare deductible and co-payment. Many people suffer from arthritis and cannot get up from a seated position. This chair will give them the freedom to get around and help them avoid falls and injuries. So if you're a Medicare recipient and you meet the previous conditions, then you can get this recline and lift chair delivered to your door at no cost. Call 1-800-544-3500 toll free. 1-800-544-3500.
Through the years, the mothers of America have had a kind of medical training.
Next.
They've learned from countless doctors and pharmacists that the way to take care of a cough is with Robitussin. And now at home, the mothers of America are putting this advice to work.
Next.
Robitussin, recommended by Dr. Mom. Which Robitussin is right for you? Ask your doctor or pharmacist.
Some TV shows appeal to kids.
What bar exam did you pass? The sandbar.
Some TV shows appeal to adults.
Every day, somewhere in the world, there's a parent who's saying, "We'll see."
And some TV shows appeal to everyone.
These are the Julian High School cheerleaders.
Watch San Diego at Large, starring Larry Himmel. It's sure to appeal to you.
And now, the adventures of Homer the dog.
Two women in a New Jersey nursing home were both pianists before they were paralyzed. With their misfortune, they thought they would never play again. But with a little teamwork, they're making music once more. Charles Osgood with their story.
I want to give this from Lurleen.
Margaret Patrick is 74 years old. She used to play the piano, but suffered a stroke 4 years ago, and her right hand was paralyzed. It was at a rehabilitation center in Englewood, New Jersey, that she met Ruth Eisenberg. Ruth is 85, and although their backgrounds are different, they had much in common, because Ruth, too, used to play the piano until a stroke paralyzed her left side. It was Millie McHugh, one of the directors of the center, who had the great idea.
So I just said to them, come with me, plunked them down to the piano. I said, "Oh, you got a right hand, you got a left hand, let me hear some Chopin."
They don't play duets, they play solo pieces. Margaret plays the bass with her left hand, and Ruth the treble with her right. The two women, close as they are now, have distinct personalities.
She's very reserved and dignified and formal. Like when I become over-exuberant or enthusiastic, I might say, "Hot damn." She'll say, "Oh, dear." That's Margaret.
Margaret's speech was affected by her stroke, and recovery has been a slow uphill struggle. But the music has helped.
It has uplifted both of these people out of a depressive state into a totally, sometimes you're just kind of euphoric about it.
What about it, partner? We'll go into showbiz.
Your hand and mine, ebony and ivory, helping each other to turn adversity into harmony. If only the world could do as well.
Gently told. What a neat story. Well, that's our visit at noon. Coming up at 4:30, we continue our special 8 Who Care series. Today, Liz Purcell reports on a retired serviceman in San Diego who lost a limb in the war and now counsels others just like him. On News 8 at 5, Linda Moore begins her special series on working women in San Diego. She'll report on how good our city really is for women in business. And on News 8 at 6:30, Jody Hammond takes a look inside the county mental health facility in Hillcrest. We hope you had a great weekend and that your Monday is kind of special. Thanks for watching.
Have a good day.
Join Dave Hood as he shows you the beauty.